Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Aleasha Bahr, and this is Introverted Entrepreneur Success Stories. I am a sales coach for introverts, and I create custom sales processes with you that allow you to win up to 80% of the people you talk to without pain pitching or pretending to be somebody else. And the idea for this show came from people like you who have the desire to be an entrepreneur, but might be might let being an introvert hold you back or make you think that you're not cut out for it. So we decided it could be helpful to interview introverted entrepreneurs about their journey, success, and how they feel about sales. Because we found that sales is an unavoidable part of entrepreneurship and often the reason introverts shy away from it. So joining us on the show today is Nazeera Dawood. Nazeera is the CEO of Vendorship Inc. They help anyone with professional services or commodities navigate how to secure a government contract from A to Z. Nazeera, I'm so excited you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Aleasha, for having me. I'm excited to be speaking to you for the next probably half an hour.
Yes, it will be about a half an hour. Um, Nazeera has the coolest story of really anybody who's been listening to the show has definitely heard a pattern of, not letting things stop you and continuing on. So Nazeera, will you give us some background? Because it's an amazing story.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Aleasha. I know we scheduled to speak 2 months ago, so I was looking forward to this interview
Yes.
today. And my background is I used to practice medicine in India. And as I was telling you before the show started, I come from a community where women were not given that much importance for education, right? They were raised to mostly at least from the conservative family that I was raised in those 40 villages, around 40 villages, close knit community, women were, you should raise a good family, you should know how to cook for your husband. And here I was, the odd person out, wanted to become a doctor from childhood. So everybody would like, for my mom, even it was a distant dream because nobody's gone beyond eighth grade in the community that I grew up in or I know. And I was the rebel there. And literally, when time came, even for high school, I had to fight the challenges. I finished my high school, and usually in India, after high school, we head to medical school. And here I was, and everybody, even my brothers, like, what are you going to do, wasting the money or the time in 5.5 years in med school? You're going to end up cutting onions for your husband in the kitchen. And I'm like, I just heard the side, and I just left it out that side. I didn't let it stick in. So I still was like, there's a story about a deaf frog. It doesn't hear when people give negative comments or you can't do it, and it climbs the mountain just because it didn't hear the noise around it. And it wins. So I was deaf to the surrounding noises, but I starved for a year, basically. So then my parents accepted, and then I went to med school, finished med school. So basically, even my niece recently called me and said thank you for paving that pathway. Now even I, after like 20 years, even she's completed her professional college, which was a new generation coming out. So that was my story about being the first professional woman among the community to finish a professional college, and becoming a doctor. And then I wanted to, after I practiced for a few years in India, I realized there was a gap. And then I wanted to be in the community health, community medicine, preventing people to go to a doctor. Because what I realized was people think there's a magic pill for every illness or a disease. So if there's unhealthy living, even though knowing some of the side effects of unhealthy eating or no physical activity, and then the complications really impacted me listening to the patient stories. So it went deep inside, and I said, you know what, we need people to be educated even about prevention. that you don't have to get amputated because of diabetes. You don't have to get blood pressure. You can check, you can keep all these in check if you do these from before, prior hand. So then I joined Emory University. I did my master's of public health at UNC Chapel Hill because my interest was in community health, like treating the entire community to prevent them from going to a doctor, so prevent them from complications. And being at Emory for a few years, then I got my dream job at Fulton County government, which is city
In
of
Atlanta.
Atlanta is
Yeah.
located in metropolitan. Atlanta is located in Fulton County, the largest county in Georgia. And so I got my dream job there as a health promotion division director. And from there, like there was no stop, stopping. Went and created some policy changes, some culture change, if I may, and show that the government can work with the community in implementing positive policy changes or environmental changes. And then after 7 years in the government experience, after 4 years, I was promoted to becoming the chief of staff for the chairman as well. So I was in the political arena, learned the ins and outs, what happens behind closed doors, how and what. And during that time, I realized, Aleasha, that not many were shying away from government contracts. And I would get so frustrated because I would be a part of the team that puts the request out that government, this entity needs this, and this. And there'll be hardly one or two applicants. And these
Oh,
applicants would be the same people who've been applying and know the system for 20 years. And so the quality is not that well. And those who have very good quality service don't respond or apply. And so ultimately I felt that was waste of taxpayers money, all the staff spending time, and then ultimately we have very one or two people. So that's when and then after 7 years in the government, after a commute of 2 hours, sorry, in the morning, 2 hours in the evening from where I live to downtown where my office was, I said, now I need to spend more time with family and kids. So I resigned after 7 years, and then I became an entrepreneur. And I didn't know what entrepreneur was before 4 years.
yeah. So that's like, multiple lifetimes for most people, everything that you just explained. I want to go back to the part. Did you say that you starved yourself for a year or was
For
it
a week.
Oh, a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, Nazeera has so much fire in her that she was like, I'm going to starve myself for a week if you guys don't help facilitate me getting into medical school, which is just so impressive and really like a great indicator for someone who's going to be successful as an entrepreneur. Honestly, you were not going to let anything stop you. You were not going to like take any failure as a failure. You were just going to take it as a lesson learned, and it made you smarter and stronger and better so that you succeeded the next time, which is what is so necessary for being an entrepreneur. And, most people would be like, oh, I'm a physician. I've done all this medical school. I'm going to stay as a physician. And then she's like, no, I'm going to go work for the government, and climbs all the way to chief of staff. And then it's like, okay, now I'm going to start my own business. So she has 6 to 7 employees now underneath her. And just a real testament to, like, I was saying this, I think in the last episode, that entrepreneurs are the only people who have the audacity to want to make good money and really enjoy what they're doing while they make it. And that your story is an absolute testament to that. There's no reason that you need to compromise or settle in life. Like, you can do something that is very fulfilling for you and enjoy every day. And even if that changes in a few years, feel safe and secure in pursuing the next thing that is going to light you on fire. And it's just so awesome to hear about, like it really has to make somebody think that like we're out of excuses. Nazeera had every excuse not to do any of these things. So before starting a business, I mean, I'm guessing you've been through so many trials at this point, but before starting a business, did you think being an introverted would be an asset or not?
So people. So here's the secret. People think I'm an extrovert because I told you I moderate these monthly sessions, which is called Chai and Just Chat, and bring different professionals and moderate and facilitate the session. It's a panel discussion every month on different topics. So people have seen me in person before COVID, pulling all these people together, offering chai, and let's discuss and talk. But actually, I'm an introvert. I love the couch and the corner of the couch. That's where the business started. If you'd give me an option of going to a party and let's do this and that, I'm like, I'll find reasons not to go.
Yeah.
I love the couch, my laptop, or sometimes the TV or other things that I'm reading, right? So, I'm an introvert. But if you give me the stage and a mic, that's my thing. So without the stage and mic, I'm not good in a group. I cannot socialize.
Oh,
But in business world, so I came with some advantages. So people knew me a little bit beforehand. Before I
mm-hmm.
opened the business, they knew me from because in the government sector where I was, it was like, it's called the 10th floor, like where all the politics happen. Political commissioners are there. So I was the only Indian face there. So it's like the odd person out, right? So sort of like, oh, that Indian lady, oh, that Indian lady. So sort of they knew me a little bit. So the business sort of helped me with reaching out to those people whom I knew already, Aleasha. Um,
Yeah.
but being an introvert doesn't mean I have to attend all the social events. There's always emails, and
Yeah.
then here I am coming with knowledge and experience and credibility. So all I had to do was reach out and say, hey, do you want to increase your revenue, expand your revenue, head into the public sector, because the government needs you, and there's all the money in the local and state and county and city and the federal level, but are you in the playing field? So let us help you get to that playing field with confidence. So I guess I would still not pick up a phone, which is not good for business people. But I guess in my case, it worked because sometimes I'm not selling a product, I'm selling a professional. We provide knowledge as a service, and it can be done through email, but I make sure my team does make the calls.
Yeah. So once you get to a certain level, you definitely don't have to worry about that. You can hire people where that's their strength. But yeah, it make a difference that you had that experience and credibility. And what most people don't realize is that they have experience in something that they're doing. And if you don't have experience, just go get it. Nazeera definitely didn't stop because she didn't have the experience. That's how you get the experience so that you can do this. And there was something that you said, gosh, what was it?
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Aleasha, I have no whatsoever experience in business. I've never gone to business school. My family has never done business.
Right.
All I knew was to be the best employee in any career field that I went into, whether at the university, whether I was practicing as a doctor or in the government sector. So to come out and realizing that I'm not going to get a paycheck every month, oh my gosh, that was the scariest risk I just took. And sometimes you have to take the risk, and sometimes you won't see the returns or anything for 5 months. So I have to even dip into my retirement savings because I knew it would work. I knew there's not competition. I knew everybody was not providing a one-stop shop.
Yeah, you saw a huge gap in the market.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's how most entrepreneurs start actually, is without any business experience. They just are really good at the service that they're doing. And then they have to figure out the rest of the business and marketing and bookkeeping and stuff while they go. So that is not unusual. But I mean, just the scary, you're total spot on about the scary without a salary, a predictable salary thing. So, I mean, there are definitely ways to do it where like you had a retirement savings to dip into, which is still scary to dip into, but it's much scarier if you don't have anything. And I don't know if I'd recommend that. I mean, I had some money saved up too, just in case. But yeah, I can tell that everything that you do, you just do it with such fire. So nothing really stops you I can't see being an introvert stopping you. You are just going to find your own way to make it work as an introvert. But I bet that there are a lot of things that being an introvert helps for you to do. And oh, the other thing is like being a speaker, there are so many introverts who are speakers and performers. It's really unusual. They just have to get off stage and have like a handler that where they like don't interact with people afterwards because they're completely drained. Um, so anyway, yeah. Where do you think, like, do you think it's an asset for you now? Like, how do you feel like it influences you as an entrepreneur? Obviously, you were emailing instead of calling, but what about in other ways?
So, being an introvert, like you said, right? My speaking skills, the giant chat that I organized, several people came, and sort of I made that as a CSR or a community social responsibility of vendorship of the main business. So, I'm a main entrepreneur through vendorship, but I'm also social entrepreneur, right? So through social entrepreneur, I was able to say, hey, vendorship is sponsoring this event because I'm able to take time out to do this educational event at no cost for attendees, and it's more networking and fellowships happening because of vendorship. So vendorship's name went out there already. So even though through vendorship I was a more of an introvert, but
Mhm.
on stage and mic I sort of collaborated and said vendorship is doing good, right? I know it's a business, but look, it's giving back too, much earlier within the 4 years. So every time there's a monthly Chine chat, you'll see the logo on the flyer. It goes out, and I have to I thank you Vendorship for sponsoring our events. So in that way, I felt it has really helped. Other than that, having a good team, you can't have all the skills. You can't do everything. Like I said, I would rather just text than pick up the phone, but that's not how business is going to work. So making sure that you have the right team with you also helps grow the business. So you, and sometimes you have to come out of the comfort zone, right? Now I don't drink, Aleasha, so yeah, I get several invites. Hey, we're having a social drinking, a social event, cocktail event, and I'm like, the bartender has to tell me, you don't have to, there's a drink called Virgin. So I literally learned from him. He showed me how you just
Ah,
go into these parties and you just ask for a virgin drink, where there's no alcohol in it. So I've been very, very uncomfortable sometimes because like I don't know anyone. I would rather avoid it 100 times.
yeah.
But then I'm sure I've missed some business opportunities because of that as well.
But you've made it work so well for you. So I think that what really makes the difference, and there is a pattern in everybody that we talk to, is that because you were leaning into your intuition and what lit you up and made you passionate, you found these creative ways to make the business work, even though maybe you didn't like networking and connecting with people. And so there are more ways to do business than just the way that everybody thinks that scares them. So being resourceful, and as long as you are doing something that really lights you up, you kind of can get more creative in that situation because you really want to make it possible. And so I think it's awesome that you were resourceful. And as long as you get results, I mean, what's the point of thinking about if I went to these, I would get more opportunities? Like maybe not. Like maybe you wouldn't get the same opportunities. And as long
Yep.
as you're making an impact and doing what you love, like I think
Yeah.
it's really cool that you did it in spite of not wanting to go out and do things like that.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks.
Yes. And as, an Indian woman, we were talking a bit about that, obviously being a woman in any corporate environment, you definitely do have to work harder. That's still the case. Maybe that will change in the future. I think, a lot of it is very subconscious, the biases and stuff, but as an Indian woman, it's like, even you've got to go up against, I mean, you probably like being an introvert was not the first thing you were worried about people thinking about you. You were probably like, I have to prove myself that I'm not whatever stereotype they have of me. And I have to be pretty loud about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And what you just said, I want to quickly bring a testimonial of what happened when I was in the county government. I used to lead and build coalitions around health, for physical health, good physical health, like coalitions around heart disease prevention, diabetes prevention, asthma prevention and all that. So I used to bring community members, sometimes with strong personalities, as co-chairs who would lead that coalition
Love
effort
it.
with
Yeah.
goals. So there was this. After building for three years of working on building this coalition and building different communities from the of north and the south, and you know how it can sometimes it can get ugly, and bringing all them together towards one goal.
Yeah.
After 3 years, we received a grant of $9 million from CDC, from the federal government, because they're like, oh my gosh, you guys didn't have resources. How did you do it? Well, because we used the resources that already exist in the community, right? And we brought them together and we showed them the good cause. We provided them additional commitments, not monetarily, but providing space and all that. So we got the $9 million. So when there was a proclamation on my name, and
Yeah.
you can see the part of the proclamation over here. And so one Caucasian 78-year-old Caucasian who was a co-chair of the asthma coalition said, hey, you know what, I have to admit, when they put you as the leader for this coalition, all these coalition efforts, and I said, this Asian petite lady is going to lead all the coalitions, and now I have to agree, I've changed my mind.
I mean, obviously, if you got in that position in the first place, it wasn't because you were like a docile little wallflower, you know?
But he saw me as this Asian petite lady, right? So for him, then for me to prove. So that's when I realized it's not, so you can't just keep proving, because then your whole life will be about proving to someone for
Yeah.
what you are not or what you are. So I decided, after even I ran for the office or campaign and ran for elections, I decided that I'm just going to do what's best and what will bring the outcomes, and I'll do it with conviction and commitment, and with credibility, and I keep going. And of course there'll always be noises around women. Even men get that sometimes, whether they're minority or majority. They get intimidated or things like that. So I think once you are strong and truthful to yourself, and there's a need for your service, you can see the value, and if you're adding value, your business tends to grow. And if it's right pricing and affordable, and of course when you have the right marketing team and the sales team that comes along, which won't be there for the first 2 or 3 years initially, might be majority of the entrepreneurial cases, and then you grow it organically, or it just booms. And I'm waiting for to boom. I'm not a person who will walk slowly and wait for things to happen.
I can tell. Um, yeah. So, I mean, I hope if there are some introverts out there that might be from, a background that makes them think that they're even more disadvantaged past being an introvert, that might be the case, but please don't let that stop you. Because in the end, as long as you're listening to your intuition, which is definitely one of the introvert superpowers, listening to your intuition and paying attention to like nuance and need and market. I mean, what you notice that the market needed is honestly like a physical example of introverts listening and hearing and seeing and having a goal beyond making a sale or a goal beyond making money, but actually making an impact. If that's your goal and you're being true to yourself, like things just kind of fall in place no matter what situation you're in. And especially, Nazeera, I'm sure you have a lot to teach people about, and that sounds like what these chai chats are, about how to be resourceful. Because, obviously it will be easier when you can tap into people who have done what you want to do or who can assist you. So not saying like you just need to do it all by yourself, like with grit, but like just start, just start it at least.
Have the confidence, definitely build a team, because I know of companies that are probably one or two members strong, and they do pretty well. But then if you want to really grow a company huge, then you need to start building a team, and that's what I've learned. Like the first 2 years it was just me and another lady, and then we realized the business is growing, we can't just handle it all. And you don't want to grow up, become an entrepreneur, or grow a company just for your time. You're building something big and foundation, you're leaving it for the future, right? On a gap that you've noticed. And so having that team, a trustable team, it's like people will come and go, but then the core foundation, team members whom you can trust and they can trust you. It's not just about you trusting them, they have to trust you. That's when, it's going to be aligned with less negativity and positive vibes and going towards one goal. So I can tell you quickly what I did. Like last month was my birthday, and on my birthday I took the team, and we are all women. So we took them to I took them to a sauna place, got our feet
Oh,
got
I
our
love
feet
that.
massaged,
Yeah.
and we had lunch, and that was a small way of me appreciating them, for believing in what we are doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's culture. So as long as you're like coming from that place again where you're leaning into your intuition and you know what these ladies would like, I'm sure, and how they would feel appreciated. And that can be really powerful in that management position. Being able to, relate to your team and tap into them and really give them whatever they need to feel motivated. It's also such an asset to have that intuition. So we should talk about sales. It is an unavoidable thing for any entrepreneur. How did you feel about sales before becoming an entrepreneur?
No, I never. I would still say sales is not for me. I'm so sorry. I don't want anybody to be discouraged because I say that, because I want to tell you of other methodologies that we've started. So first of all, I said I brought the credibility. So when I would even speak and tell people, they would get interested. Oh my gosh, yeah, definitely. And it was an indirect sale, because I would never say I'm the CEO, I own a company. I would never say that because I didn't want people to think she's promoting the business. But then in some places I had to say it out, and that's when I realized people are really noticing me, because they had to sort of think of Nazeera from the social activities in the government sector, and then now to think, oh, why is she charging money now for her hours? She never used to charge in the government. She used to be
Yeah.
such a, giver of information, education, and now she's suddenly like, it's charges and pricing. And so there was a shift from being that government employee or official to on a businesswoman, or people starting to consider, I am a businesswoman, right? So for me to say that took me 3 years.
So that's like an issue of like over humility or like underselling, which is something that a lot of introverts deal with, because they're so worried of coming off a certain way, that they end up underselling themselves a lot. And so to keep in mind that like people underselling yourself is not doing anyone favors. It might feel like you're being polite or something to the other person, like you're not selling to them, but if they need what you've got, then it's a disservice to them. So being able to just share, you talk about like indirectly selling, that's really, I mean, a lot of people think that the sales process needs to be some pronounced pitch or something. But really it is just a conversation, and then it kind of indirectly happens. That's an effective way for an introvert to do sales, is just to talk about what's going on. We can help you with it. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. And the other ways are, as I said, I love to speak, like how I'm coming onto your program. So our team would look for opportunities or an agenda to present somewhere. And sometimes we would get our potential clients from those presentations, and the other places are like, if you do speak to a potential client, and we are having clients, Aleasha, you won't believe, whom we spoke with 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing is wasted effort at all. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen. Really, for 2 months, we didn't have any sales, but we had people in the pipeline. So as long as we have people in the pipeline, we know they're coming to close after 6 months, 3 months. It's like during even those 2 months, we have to continue to present and seek potential clients to make presentations. So there's always ups and downs, but COVID sort of, because it's a tech, we were focused on technology field as well, helping the tech firms get into the government sector. And during the COVID times, you know how the tech just boomed, right?
Yes.
Every city and county and state wanted to get into more technologically equipped to offer the services from remote working. So we grew that time, grew, and we hired more during those times as well. And sales is something we have a weekly meeting on sales. We still struggle. We've been trying to hire a sales director, and we can't afford a price sometimes that they ask. And so we try different methodologies, but we don't give up. We try, and then we continue to make sure the main foundation of what has helped us, we continue to do. So even today, even this morning, our team meeting was about how do we go back to the old ways of how our team did it. We would send out emails and, customize it and send emails, or sometimes make the follow-up calls. So after doing all those 5 methodologies, we've come back to the old ways, starting, we are the team, we have to make it happen ourselves. We can't wait for someone else to do this, and this.
No, I love that absolute ownership that you've got going on. Like, really, you're the only person who can make anything happen. And it's not just going to happen if you wait. So, I mean, I love like the grace that you give yourself for trying something and then it doesn't work and it doesn't matter. You just try something else. And that's really like what it takes to be successful, is just continuing the persistence. And knowing upfront that you're probably not going to get it right the first time. You would be I don't know if anyone has ever gotten it right the first time.
I doubt it, unless, they come with full coach, or their dad has worked out and found out, it's a family work. And
I mean, even if they had a loan from their parents, I'm sure they're making all kinds of mistakes. Like,
yeah.
like there's nothing wrong with it. If you're not making mistakes, you're probably not moving forward. I would think you're probably just staying in the same spot or something.
And it's okay to make mistakes. You become stronger, you learn better. There are some elements that you don't want to repeat in the future, but you don't want to give up. And that's all it matters. And you've seen from my story, I just never gave up. I figured out this way, that way, jump, hoop, loop, all, do everything, and then get to the goal.
I just love it. It's so inspiring. So the last question I always like to ask is, what do you recommend to other introverts considering becoming entrepreneurs?
I think definitely, risk taking is one of you can't avoid risk. You can't be risk averse and say, oh, I avoid risk. Yes, take calculated risk, but sometimes how do you calculate risks, right? So make sure you have good support around, either through family or friends. And don't start a business just because your friend has started business and all the people around you have started a business. Make sure there's a need. And make sure you have the knowledge and the patience and the commitment. Because recently, you must have heard the puppy in the background. You must have, during COVID, everybody was going and getting a puppy, right? Even he's a COVID puppy. But then when COVID was all gone and now they have to get back to work, they're giving away the puppies. So
they are?
Yeah,
oh my God,
you should read articles. Yeah, oh, I'll send you articles. Most of the puppies are going back to the shelter.
That's terrible.
Because they can't manage and they're going full-time jobs. So that was never a commitment, right? It was just for the time, the need. So business cannot be like that. Oh, I'm not doing anything, I'm bored, I just want to start a business. And then you can't leave after 6 months. It's like a lifetime commitment, because you want the company and your name, you want to leave a legacy. Of starting a business that would work. And some businesses fail, that's fine, but at least, but don't start without a commitment, just to check whether, let me test my feet wet, keep my feet wet, see how it's going. No, I even tell my clients, if that's why you want to get into government sector, you are not a good client for us at all. So that will always happen. But make sure that your service is needed. Make sure you've done your research on how, what, when, and where. But don't let, just because you're a shy person, that the business is not going to succeed. No, when you are in the right alignment, the right people will come in and help you move it forward.
Yeah, just trust I think it's really, so I'm just learning more and more. It's really about checking in on your gut, your intuition. And if it feels right, if it really, really feels right, you should trust that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you that butterfly inside you, something, that fiery thing inside you must tell you like this is what you want to do at some point. So
yes,
start doing it, right? Don't wait for another 20 years, and you know, start. I would rather sometimes also recommend not to give up your job initially.
yeah,
Some of the initial things of researching, building the website, what you want to do, how you wanted to do it in the weekends and evenings. But at some point, you can't handle the business and the full time job, because then again, the business will become secondary. Then
yeah.
at some point, you would want to make it your primary and leave the job and start growing the business.
Yeah. And there'll always be some risk, but you're right. That would be a more calculated risk. So there are many ways to do it. And as long as you're letting that fire, that passion, it's just knowing that you're not going to be fulfilled in life if you don't act on that fire. So, thank you so much for coming, Nazeera. And
Thank you, Aleasha, for
where
having
can,
me. I've had a wonderful conversation with you as well. It just brings back memories.
yeah, I mean, I love it. You're just like, the grit is like really admirable. So where can people find you? Or
Sure.
yeah, maybe the chai. Well, you
Yeah,
yeah.
sure. Yeah. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Vendorship. The website is vendorship.net, N-E-T, vendorship.net. And people can email us at info@vendorship.net. And if they visit our website, the phone numbers and emails and contact us, everything is there. Someone or the other from our team will definitely pick up the call. Emails are there as well. The other monthly sessions that I mentioned about Chai and Just Chat is www.chai, which is chai, chai, and justchat.com. These are monthly sessions. We do invite professionals, panelists of different topics. So definitely, Aleasha, I'm already booking you for
Oh,
for
great.
something entrepreneur or introverts,
Oh, wonderful.
becoming entrepreneurs at some point soon. So we decide on the topic. And this month we're talking about organ donation, and that is chaiandjustchat.com. So people can, and sometimes if you do Google my name, I do come up, Nazeera Dawood, because I ran for office, and with some of the articles that I've written in the past for a local newspaper as well.
Cool. All right, you guys. So I hope this inspires you to move on that fire that you've got and ready to be messy about it. It's just going to be okay. You're going to get better and better the moment you start. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you, Aleasha. Thank you all for listening. Take care. Stay safe.